Welcome to Satsang. So today I've been asked to talk about simplicity, and it's something I actually had to learn because I was quite a complex person, and that I think we all are. We get ourselves into complexities in the urban life, business, kids, family, the whole thing. And I found that that complexity keeps people in a certain level of stress trying to make all the ends actually meet. And I decided that I wanted a more relaxed life, a more beautiful way of living in the world. And so in Zen Buddhism, they limit what they have in their room. They limit what they own. They limit what they possess, basically. And so they might just have a robe and a begging bowl and maybe a bed to sleep on. That's it. Very Zen. I don't necessarily advocate that. I know that simplicity doesn't really begin outside of you. It begins inside of you. If we are doing nothing but problem solving the whole time, which is what we were programmed to do at school, our lives get very complex because we have the ability to make it very complex. And so I decided to step out of my mind and stop constantly solving problems, thinking of problems and solving them. I decided I wanted a much simpler life. I wanted to be more in wonderment, like I had when I was a child, than in my head, like I'd been taught to be at school. And so it was a matter of bringing awareness away from the dream. In other words, in a lot of ways, ignoring the dream, the constant chatter, the noise, the problem solver, and being with what is real. And everything is real except what you think. The only thing that's not real is what you think. And so I decided that I would be more present to what I was doing in life rather than thinking about it. And life started to become much simpler. I started to find that wonderment again, just being with nature, just being with life, rather than thinking about life, but rather than problem solving. Of course, we can get really caught in problem solving if we decide we want to procrastinate or worry. And then we just throw one story after the other story, and we get so much complexity happening in our minds, we lose all clarity, all simplicity, and actually create a place of suffering inside our own minds. The beauty of being present to reality is you can actually be happy. You can be happy for no reason, really, just in wonderment. It's very difficult to call happiness problem solving or worrying or procrastinating or analyzing. I mean, you might like to call it happy, but I don't think it is. Happy to me is wonderment, a certain contentment for no reason. And that in a lot of ways occurs because we're out of our minds, not in our minds, because our minds run true to what they've been programmed to do, solve problems. We spent probably 12 years at school, or less or more, doing that, solving problems. And then we continue that for the rest of our lives. And so we get up in the morning, the first thing we do when we wake up is start thinking about the things we're going to do today and the problems that might be involved, and there it begins. Rather than getting up in the morning and being present to making the bed, being present to getting breakfast ready, present to going to the toilet, present to having a shower, whatever you do, present to what is real rather than what is not real. And that's a lovely way to live. It is not lovely to live in your head. It's one of the reasons I found meditation just so awesome. It allowed me relief from a calculator, a walking calculator. Always working the percentages, because I was in the publishing business and it was all about percentages all the time. So I had a mind that just calculated constantly. And it was nice not to do that. It was nice to be present to what is real. And so for me, I used to love nature. I found that worked as well. Being out walking on a bush trail or down by a beach or down by a river or anything outside really was really cool. But I've noticed some people walking and they're just in their heads. They're not even with nature. They're just doing their analyzing and problem solving and whatever you want to call it in their heads. And they're missing the beauty and the wonderment of just being. So we have to make a concerted effort. If we've been to school, more than likely we live in our heads to a large degree. And we have to make a concerted effort to get out of our heads, to reclaim reality from the dream that we found ourselves in. And that's up to you. Nobody can do that for you. Whatever we practice for long enough will become our default pattern. So if you practice being present to reality long enough, you'll find that you are present to reality a lot more. But because we practiced for so long at being present to analyzing and problem solving in our minds, that's what most people do. And you've got to look at that too from a perspective of relationships with other human beings. If we're living in our heads, problem solving, analyzing, working things out, procrastinating and worrying, where is the intimacy that we can actually have with another human being while we're running that dream? It's lacking. And the other thing that might probably be lacking is love, because we're in a dream. How can we perceive reality? Because love is real. How can we perceive that while we're dreaming? We're kind of distracted from it. And so one of the things about getting back to the present moment is you find more heart. You find more beauty. So simplicity is, to me, a very important subject. The more complex people make things, the harder it is to have a relaxed life. The simpler things are, the more routine they are, the easier it is to have a relaxed life. And in the game of higher consciousness, spirituality, a relaxed mind is required. Not a mind that is getting tense and uptight and carrying on like a monkey, but a mind that can relax. And simplicity is definitely one of the key attributes of being able to be relaxed. Instead of being able to do 10 things in an hour, if we can do those 10 things in an hour, how about doing 8 or 7 or 6 or 5? Make it easy. Because really, what we're all working for in life is quality of life. But where's your quality of life, no matter how much money you're making, if you're stressing out all the time? What's the point? Learn to be simple. Learn to relax. Be free of this one. Up to you. Only you can make this so. Nobody can do it for you. Are there any questions? Any statements? Any challenges to these teachings today?
The first question is as follows. Do you ever find being simple challenging in a world that values complexity?
Yes. The answer is yes, because people expect me to meet them in their complexity. And that's a problem because I don't want to. I love simplicity. I love wonderment. I love being. And I don't really enjoy living in my mind. And that's where most adults live. So people find it challenging to deal with me because I'm not prepared to go there. I love freedom. There's no freedom in living in your head. And complexity is just something you do while you're in prison. I'm not interested. And so it is challenging. People get upset with me from time to time because I'm not willing to go into their complexities. I love simplicity. I actually love Zen. But people say, oh, I've Zened my house. I've cleared everything out. No, not required. Zen your mind. Clear everything out of your head. That's best.
I feel quite at home in complex work environments, even though it stresses me out. Why does it feel natural for me to be complex?
Well, because you were trained to be complex. When we went to school, we were trained to solve complex problems day after day, week after week, month after month, year after year. So that's what we've actually been programmed to do. So you're just running true to your default patterning. So of course it feels natural. It wouldn't feel natural if you weren't trained that way. The problem with that is that you have been trained that way and it's hard to change it because it's default patterning. It's just that if you step back and have a look at that way of living with complexity, you go, oh no. And this is why people get into drugs and alcohol. Is they want relief from the complex mind that just won't shut up. They just want relief. So they take drugs and alcohol. But meditation just takes a lot longer. The practice of meditation brings you to the present moment. And if you practice being present long enough, it becomes your default pattern. And so it's up to you. Yeah, it might feel natural to you to be complex, but only because that's how you've been programmed. I used to have quite a complex mind and I used to enjoy complexity. Thought I was smart until I realized there's no quality of life in it because there's no relaxation in it. Up to you.
The following question has been asked by a viewer. Lately with lockdown, I have been unable to exert enough energy to help me relax. I find myself at night time unable to switch off my mind, and the bundle of energy that I have inside me turns to anxiousness. Then I feel imprisoned in my mind. Are we supposed to be relaxed without exercise?
Yeah. It takes no effort to relax. It takes a lot of effort to not be relaxed. The same as it takes absolutely no effort to be, but it takes a great deal of effort to be someone. And so you need to have a closer look at what takes effort and what doesn't. It takes no effort at all to be relaxed. All you got to do is let go. But you've probably been programmed to not let go. You've probably been programmed to be uptight, to be a problem solver, to be complex. And that's a shame, but that's how it is for most human adults. But we can learn to slow down. We can learn to simplify our lives, our minds, and we can find that relaxed space inside if we want. But it does take work to change any default pattern. And so there is a certain discipline required to change the default pattern. We have to do something different to what we've been doing before. And so meditation, which is abandoning the complexity for reality, it takes a certain discipline to do that. If you follow the discipline and you do it, you'll change the way you are in the world. You'll learn to be more relaxed. But that's going to be, once again, up to you. It's not going to change by itself. The mind is set. Most of your default patterns were put in by probably the age of 9. And they're pretty hardwired by now, depending on how old you are. But all programs, all patterns are changeable if you're willing to make the change, if you're willing to put the discipline in to do something different to what you've been doing before. It's up to you. Or you can take drugs and alcohol. But of course, they'll keep you locked in lower consciousness. So For someone who's a spiritual aspirant who wants to go to higher consciousness, those things are in the way. You actually have to find a different way. And I advocate meditation. I also advocate openness, because openness really allows you to be with reality as well. It's quite sweet, the practice of openness.
How do I deal with my friends who are only interested in shopping and drinking and continue to question my choice to live more simply?
Go shopping. I don't see a problem with going shopping with your friends. Personally, I'm not into drinking, but we're talking alcohol, I take it. I do like juices and water and things like that. Be in life. Squeeze the juice out of it. I'm not suggesting you play life be out of it, not for a second. Be in life. Have fun. Live. Just try not to live here, because living in your mind is not really living. It's existing, but it's not really living. You really want to live, be in the world. Have your awareness on what's real, not on some dream, not on some matrix that's not real. Be with what's real. If you really want to live, up to you.
How can I simplify my life and do work I love when I don't feel well physically and emotionally?
Well, having had 3 kids and being self-employed, I didn't have a great deal of choice in that. Taking time off for any reason didn't seem to serve the family that well. And so I just put myself aside and made it happen, made it so. Sometimes I was weak. I had chronic fatigue for years as a result of hepatitis in the 80s. So I had to support a family, I had to support education. And so I just did it. Just put yourself aside and make it so. Don't include you in the picture, because if you do, you'll probably go down the chute with some kind of poor me number. Just make it happen. Once again, if you really look at that, it's a bit like, don't give yourself a choice. Up to you.
Is there a difference between simplicity and renunciation?
They're spelt different. And I don't see any correlation between the two. Really, renunciation is just giving everything up. Giving up your hair, giving up your eating after 12 o'clock, giving up sexuality, giving up alcohol, giving up drugs. Simplicity is different. It's just having a life that is relaxed, cool. Don't have to really give anything up. Maybe you're thinking, oh yeah, that's not a bad idea. You see, when I think about renunciation, I think, well, if you must renounce something, if you really must renounce something, renounce thinking. And then there's no problem, because then there's no I. And I remember hearing one Buddhist monk state, no I, no problem. So if you must renounce something, renounce your thinking. Be present to reality. Be in meditation, because meditation is being with what is real instead of dreaming. It doesn't matter how much you've got or how much you haven't got. If you're locked in your mind, you're probably going to be stressed out, because your mind's been programmed to be stressed, programmed to solve problems, to worry, to get anxious about things, to procrastinate. Get out of your head. Get into reality. Up to you.
I have started to get rid of some things, buying less and doing less. I notice that with it comes a sense of loss and inadequacy. How do I deal with these feelings?
Don't give anything up. That's a simple answer. Everything's going to be taken off you anyway. It's not like we get to keep anything. Every one of us is going to die, and we're going to lose everything we've got, including our lives. It's just a matter of time. I don't see a problem with having things. I see a problem with being attached to having those things, because then we can actually hurt ourselves when we try to protect them or get fearful of losing them. But having things isn't the problem. It's once again comes back to how we think about things. It comes back to the mind, our attachment. Though I must admit, having a lot of things, there's a lot of responsibility to take care of a lot of things. And so in that sense, it's simpler to not have a lot of things. But I'm not an advocate of renunciation, not really, because I see that the only thing that needs to be renounced is not in the world, it's in your head. You renounce thinking. You be with reality. Instead of constantly thinking and dreaming, you be with reality. And this takes you to higher consciousness. This gives you clarity. This gives you the stepping stone to enlightenment. Dreaming, really, or thinking, really is just lower consciousness. Have a look and see. Have a look for yourself and see. Where does all your thinking take you? It doesn't take you to high consciousness. You can't. It's a dream. You can't dream your way to high consciousness. Not possible. Dream itself is lower consciousness. Get free. Meditate. Simply meditate.
The following question is from a viewer. I've heard it said, the more things you have, the more things the more things you have, the more things have you. Can you comment on this?
Yeah, it's related to responsibility. The more you own, the more you owe responsibility to take care of. And so in having to take care of them, you could say that they own you. And so that's where that statement comes from. The more things you have, the more things have you. It comes from the responsibility to take care. And there's a certain truth in that. But we can actually have a lot of things and still be quite simple. We have a simple life. Depends on how much head energy we put into trying to make it work, how complex we make it. And there's no need to make it complex. Keep it simple. It's up to you. See, that particular statement, the more things you have, the more things have you, is really being written for people who don't know how to get out of their heads. You know how to get out of your head. You know how to be with reality. It doesn't apply so much. Though you still owe responsibility to whatever you have to take care of it. And so if you have cars, you have to take care of them. If you have properties, you have to take care of them. If you have kids, you have to take care of them. If you have a partner, you have to take care of them. But that can be a love affair. It doesn't need to be a task. It doesn't need to be arduous. It can be a love affair with life. And once again, that's up to you. Our attitudes really are created by us, and they create our reality. Having a love affair with life creates a beautiful reality.
Next, Satya would like to ask a question.
Hi, Satya.
Hello, Vishrant. Vishrant, what is the connection in between simplicity and openness?
Well, openness is simple, and closure or defendedness is not. To be defended, we actually have to have defense mechanisms, which are actually quite complex, and they take energy. To be open, there's no defense systems. There's no energy being put into it. Being open is effortless. Being closed actually takes effort. And so that's the relationship, really. It's nice to be open. It's nice to be undefended. It's nice to remove all our defenses and walk through the world in a vulnerable way. It's not safe, but it's nice. The reason we're defended is we don't want to feel pain. We don't want to feel hurt. But that defense system keeps us locked in lower consciousness, Satya.
Okay, Vishram.
Okay, Satya. Nice to chat with you.
Thank you.
I feel driven by a higher purpose and meaning. Is this a problem in the spiritual quest?
I feel driven by what? I feel driven by a higher purpose and meaning. Is that what you're asking? I feel driven by a higher purpose and meaning.
Yes.
Is this a problem in a spiritual life? Well, what's the higher purpose and meaning? It doesn't. The question's too hard for me to answer because I don't actually know what you're talking about. Sorry, so I can't answer that question.
Okay, the next question is as follows. You were speaking of present moment awareness and wonderment. How do you run a business or do well in a career if you're in wonderment? Does it not require some degree of being in the head?
Not a great deal, because as adults, we know how to do everything pretty much automatically, unless we're learning a new task. But if you've been in business for a while or in the world for a while, you know how to do everything pretty much without thinking. Bit like riding a push bike. We can jump on a push bike and just ride it and have a conversation with someone next to us. It's all automatic. As adults, we've learnt just about everything and we've done just about everything so many times, we don't need to live in our heads to make it happen. As children, it's different. We need to learn certain things. Well, first of all, we need to learn how to walk, and we learn how to walk by falling over and getting up. And so a certain focus is required. But as adults, my experience is we don't need to live in our heads. Pretty much everything's automatic because we've done it all before. We can wander around, clean our teeth, toast some toast, make a cup of tea, answer a phone call, do all sorts of things without a great deal of head energy being required. But because people live in their heads, they think they need to live in their heads. I just know it's not true. It's just not true. We can make things happen in the world from a place of being present to reality, from wonderment. We don't have to be locked in our minds to make that happen.
So where do I start if I want to live a simpler life?
Start by meditating. Because when you start meditating, you get to see the problem. Before you meditate, you may not see the problem. But when you start to meditate, you see the problem. And the problem is the way you think. And so the beginning is meditation. It's witnessing the mind, seeing what it's doing, becoming aware enough to see, rather than just getting caught in its continual dream and story. So the beginning, meditation is the best beginning because it allows you detachment to have a look. It allows you to see what the mind is up to, see how it gets caught, see how it makes everything complex. You'll see why you do that too. See, when we were at school, we got patted on the back for getting it right. We got patted on the back for doing complex things and getting it right. And so there was this reward at the end of our efforts of complexity. And somewhere the mind is still looking for that little reward. Makes things complex. As adults, quite often there is no little reward. We don't get a mark. we often don't get a well done. We just get a headache from making things so complex and stressing ourselves out.
Is there a specific technique of meditation that you recommend?
Yeah, there is. I recommend sitting in a reasonably comfortable chair with an upright back and watching the breath. Now, I don't advocate shutting the eyes to do that, because quite often, particularly if we're beginning, if we shut our eyes, we tend to go into dream. And so when we're meditating, we're watching our breath at our lip here, eyes at about a 45-degree angle, but open. So we're not distracted by what's around in the room, but we're actually using our eyes to stay present to reality, because the floor is real. What we think's not, but the floor is. And watching the breath, you watch the breath come in, you watch it turn, and you watch it go out. And then you watch it turn again, and you watch it come in. And you continue to watch the breath do that particular cycle. Now, what happens is the mind will come in and start maybe trying to talk. You abandon the mind and you come back to the breath. Now, for me, the insights didn't really occur while I was doing that practice. They occurred afterwards, because my mind had quietened right down because of the practice of watching the breath. And then insights would come later. And so I get to see this or that, and I had clarity because my mind was quite clear, pristine, as a result of meditation. So I advocate that form of meditation, just watching the breath, witnessing the breath, come in, turn, go out, turn, and come back in. And it's so simple. And the breath is always with you. So you can meditate and practice meditating anytime. You can practice it while you're driving. You can practice it while you're sitting. You can practice it all the time if you want. And no one needs to know that you're actually practicing meditation. That was my formal method of meditating. The other way that I meditated was really simple. I was just aware of everything around me. So you're aware of everything around you, and you abandon thought. You just be aware of everything around you instead of constantly thinking. And then you can be free of this. So I call that walking in Zen, where I'd actually be aware of everything around me, including my footfalls, including my breath, including the wind on my face or the sun on my shoulder. Because when you're aware of all of those things, you can't be aware of what you're thinking, because you start thinking and you lose awareness of all those things. And so there was two methodologies of meditation that I used. One was formal, which was sitting and watching the breath. The other was just being aware of everything around me constantly, rather than just aware of what I was thinking. And because I practiced that for so long, it became my habit or my pattern to be present to reality rather than present to dream, which I developed when I was at school, like everyone else. So practice is what works. Whatever you practice is what you're going to operate like. That's how we create default patterns, through practice. So I love being present, but I don't try to be present. It's a default pattern now, just being present to reality. I don't have any interest in dreaming. I don't have any interest in really living in the mind, because it's not a nice place to live. Reality is wonderful. No past, no future, just now.
Next, Jimmy would like to ask a question.
Hey, Jimmy. Jimmy, you've muted your mic. You need to unmute your mic if you want to talk to me. Yep, that's it.
Hi, Vishrant. How are you?
I'm great. Yourself?
Yeah, it's good to talk to you. Actually, I don't have any question. I just love watching your videos and practice meditation. I think everybody asks, like, they are my question. I don't have any particular question.
You just wanted to say hello, didn't you, Jimmy?
Yeah, that's it.
That's cool. When I was a seeker, I was always trying to say hello to my teachers, always trying to say hello to people who are awake, because I was so attracted to that life of freedom, that these guys obviously lived.
Yeah, I don't know how come whoever like the person in a spirituality, they attract me. And then whenever I search, find YouTube, new one, I just want to listen to them, attach to them, and practice my meditation. That's all.
Yeah, great. What nationality are you, Jimmy?
I'm Indian.
Ah, and are
Yeah, we
you
came to see you like before the COVID lockdown. And then thing was cancelled and we was there, and then on Wednesday, and then they told once we open, like, we'll let you know. So we have to drive back. And me and Naveen.
I'm going to be opening up again on Friday nights for the public, probably from this week on, but I've got to organise that with our people because they've got to put ads up. Because we can actually have a certain number of people in our hall at Restful Waters now.
Yeah.
We did close everything down for the COVID because it wasn't safe and we wanted to do the right thing. But I think we're safe to open up again now.
Yeah, like once you open, and we're allowed to come on Friday. That's no problem. Yeah.
I believe we'll be starting very soon, Jimmy. So there won't be a problem there.
Okay, that will be cool to see you in the person and feel you in the person.
Yes. And I get to see your face because currently I can't see you.
Nice. All right.
Nice to talk to you, Jimmy.
Yeah, same here, man. I'll let you ask everybody else. Yeah, thanks, Vishran.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
The next question: how can I convince my spouse or partner that we can be happier with less?
Sorry. Best of luck. The only way that's going to work is if it's their idea. I don't try to convince anyone of anything really, except maybe it's a good idea to meditate. People are going to do what they do. Your spouse has the right to do what they want to do. Do we really have the right to tell them what to do or rule their lives? I don't think so. I think they're equals in life, and they have the right to their decisions, to their preferences. As far as convincing someone of something, best of luck. I don't like your chances. So convince them that they should have less. Oh yeah, that's not going to go down well. Look, accept your partner as they are and you'll have a happy life. Acceptance works. It's the only thing that works. Everything else doesn't work. Acceptance is very beautiful and it makes everything work.
The following question is from a viewer. Are thinking and feeling the same? If I'm not thinking in meditation, should I also not be feeling?
Well, it depends on whether you're thinking about the feeling. It doesn't matter. With meditation, what you're doing is putting awareness on what is real. Now, what is real, what we're assuming is real, is the breath, because it's actually happening. Now, thoughts may come, feelings may come, but we don't pay attention to those. We pay attention to the breath. And so we are directing awareness to the breath, and we're keeping it on the breath. In other words, we're keeping it on what is real, because anything that comes from the mind is kind of dream, whether it's feelings or whether it's thoughts. So we're practicing being with what is real, which is the breath. If feelings are there, that's okay. If thoughts are there, that's okay. But we're not interested in putting awareness on them. Stay with the breath. Just keep coming back to the breath. And after a while, everything will quieten down.
This following statement is from Titan. Hello Vishrant, this is Titan. I like my new name. It is better than Cooper. Thanks for the new name, from Titan.
I like your new name too, Titan. Do you like calling yourself Ty, or do you like calling yourself Titan? I reckon some of your friends are probably going to call you Ty, but it is a lovely name. I also like the name Cooper, but you know, whatever you prefer, it's your choice. You're your own man. Nice to hear from you, Titan.
Thomas Merton once said, "A life is either all spiritual or not spiritual at all." What do you think about his statement?
I tend to agree, but I don't like the word spiritual much. I prefer, because people consider me a spirituality teacher, but I prefer to think of myself as a reality teacher, because all I'm doing is trying to teach people reality, how to find reality, whether it's through meditation in the real world or whether it's beingness, which is also real. The word spiritual to me is kind of like esoteric, and it kind of doesn't mean much. But reality means something to me. Like being aware of what's real around you means something. Meditation takes you there. That you can call it a spiritual practice, but really, if you examine it, it's a reality practice. Self-inquiry can have you become aware of beingness. And I see that as another reality practice, because beingness is real. I think we get very caught in this understanding of spirituality, and people start thinking things are holy. Though I will say that if you're really into higher consciousness, everything's about that. And if you're not into higher consciousness, probably everything's around survival to a large degree, just making it work for yourself, which is lower consciousness. Higher consciousness is very beautiful. But it takes a fair bit of effort, whereas lower consciousness doesn't take the same level of effort. And so, from my perspective, we could say everything is spiritual, but I'd say no, everything is real. Everything is real. I'm into reality. Beingness is real. Heart is real. The world out here, to some degree, is real. The only thing that is not real is what you think. That's not real. It's all imagined. And unfortunately, a lot of people live in their heads thinking it's real, but it is not. It's just not real. And so Thomas Merton got it right to some degree, because for me, everything is reality. Everything is spiritual. And for a lot of people, everything is just mundane. It's just survival, making it work. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. I am here for those people who want to raise their consciousness levels, that's all. I'm here for people who want to get into reality, that's all. And it's a good game. As a matter of fact, as far as I'm concerned, it's the only game in town that's worth playing. The best game in town, the game of higher consciousness.
How do you find that relaxed, slow space when life throws curveballs at you, like a partner suddenly leaves or a loved one dies and everything feels out of control?
Well, first of all, everything's out of control all the time anyway. You're living in an illusion that there's control. And so it's not like suddenly everything's out of control. Everything's always out of control. You're just deluded into thinking you have control in the first place. So reality works a fair bit, but we have this projection going on that everything's safe when it's not. It's not. Anyone can die at any time. We can lose things at any time. Suddenly a partner can leave for some reason. And we feel like we've lost control, but the truth is we never had control. There was an illusion of control. Be okay with being out of control. Be okay with the chaos that we actually live in. All the projections that we have to the future that make us feel safe are just lies. They're not real. There's nothing safe here. Everything. The body and the mind are very insecure in that they are not safe at all. The mind can break down. The body can break down. People can leave us. People can stay. People can die. This is reality. To actually live in an illusion that we have control is just that, living in an illusion that we have control. And sometimes we get to see through that illusion when someone dies or a partner leaves. A glimpse of reality. If you're okay with living with not knowing, it's all okay anyway. If you're okay with the world as it is, if you're practicing acceptance, it's all okay. It's only not okay when we don't practice acceptance, when we practice resistance to life. And you're the one that puts the resistance in, nobody else. It's a nice wake-up call to realize that you don't have control and that we're on a ride, if you like. You put your hands up in the air and give a scream. It's okay. The constant trying to control, wow, that's a stressful thing to do. What about just letting go and going for the ride?
When I'm doing something that I love, it doesn't feel stressful, even if I'm working long days. But if I don't like something, even 5 minutes of it feels stressful. Is it about just doing the things I love or learning to love the things that I dislike?
Well, if you don't put your mind to it, if you don't go negative on it, everything's okay. It's only when we add the negative in that we have problems. Otherwise, everything's okay. This idea that we have to love everything, that can be a bit difficult, to say the least. So if there's a task, we can just do the task. The moment we start adding criticism into the task, negativity into the task, it becomes arduous. And I'm not advocating positivity either. I'm just saying don't be negative. Why would you want to be negative? Just do the task. Do it and you don't need to think about it. You just do it. And so you don't need to get caught in right, wrong, good, bad, like, dislike. You just do it. You just do it and be free. And of course, if you start doing something that you decided you don't like, which you have a negative filter on, yeah, it's going to be stressful. But you're creating that. The task isn't creating that. You're creating that by your own negativity. And guess who's responsible for your negativity? No one but you. So it's not really about loving what you do. It's about just doing it, making it so, not adding the negative critique to it. Try it and see. What's it like to do things without the negative critique, or without the positive critique as well? Because either way, they're both problems. If you're willing to go positive, you'll probably go negative. And if you're willing to go negative, you'll probably go positive. It's just no need. Just do what you do without thought. Just do it. Make it so. Up to you. You create your reality with the way you think about it.
Are you ever so happy that you disturb people when they expect other emotions from you?
Yeah, a fair bit. Yeah, people expect me to be emotional, and I don't tend to experience emotions. I accept life as it is. I'm not caught in contraction of any kind. Good things happen, bad things happen. It's what is. I don't really get into the judgment of it. It's what is. And so I'm very much a fatalist, I guess. It's just life is the way it is. I'm not going to argue with life. I'm not going to resist life and say, hey, shake my fist and say, hey, you got it wrong. I'm not going to do that. It's like, this is how it is. Life is the way it is. I'm not interested in suffering. The moment we resist life, we create suffering for ourselves. Life doesn't create suffering for us. We do it to ourselves through our resistance. I'm just not into it. Life's too short. And I find that it does disturb people when I'm happy all the time, particularly if they want me to be miserable. Or because they're miserable, I should somehow join them. And that's why. It's like I don't need to join people in their misery. In fact, how can I lift people if I join them in their misery? And so from time to time, people get quite annoyed with me because I'm not emotional or not caught in these traps. Man, life's too short to be caught. Stay free. Don't resist life. And then life is beautiful. Up to you.
The next question is from Satya.
Hey, Satya, you're back again.
Hello, Isran. Isran, when we go into marketplace, it's really destruct. So how we can be in marketplace and we can maintain our consciousness?
How can we be in the marketplace and what? Sorry, Satya, I missed that last word.
I mean, we can keep our consciousness in marketplace.
I'm sorry, Satya. I just need to hear the last word of what you said. I missed the last word. I didn't hear it. What's your question?
Marketplace. When I go into marketplace, it really distracts and bring me into lower consciousness. So how can I be into market? Because when I do the spiritual practice and then I go to, when I meditate and when I go to the marketplace, there is distraction over there and which brings me into lower consciousness. So how can I be in the marketplace and become more and more conscious?
Be aware of the marketplace instead of aware of what you think. The only thing that takes us into lower consciousness is what we think, not the marketplace. Marketplace can't take you into lower consciousness, only what you think. So if you're thinking, if you've got a story running in your head, you're already in lower consciousness. Whether you're in the marketplace or whether you're not in the marketplace, doesn't make any difference. You can be shopping at a supermarket and be totally present to what you're doing rather than thinking and be in high consciousness. Or you can be dreaming and maybe the recipe that you're making and go into lower consciousness. But it's all related. It's not the marketplace that takes you there. It's your thoughts.
Oh, okay, Vishrant. So at the end, everything is mind.
Well, the problem is mind. The problem is mind. If you can stay present to reality, you can stay in higher consciousness. But the moment we go into our mind and into story, into dreaming, we've lost ourselves in lower consciousness.
Okay, Vishrant.
Okay, Satya.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you ever feel like being a missionary and spreading the message of love and light?
Not really. A missionary? Oh, gosh, no. No. I'm just here for people who want to get free. And I don't go out and knock on doors, have no interest whatsoever in that. If people are interested in truth, they can come and sit with me. If they're interested in truth, they can come to satsang. But I'm not a missionary. Definitely not. No. I think people have a right to their opinions. They have a right to their beliefs. I'm just here for those people who want to get free.
Being into higher consciousness, do you think it's important for us to disconnect from technology from time to time?
Not necessarily. Depends on where the technology takes you. Like right at this moment, I'm using technology of a camera and a Zoom program through the internet to talk to people around the world. I don't feel a need to disconnect it from it to be connected to higher consciousness. Not at all. Maybe some people get into technology and get caught in dreaming, but that's because they're getting caught in dreaming. You can be present to reality through technology. And so if someone's ringing you and you can be with them while they're ringing you, you don't have to go into dream, or you're doing a Zoom webinar like we are right now. You don't have to be dreaming. You can be with that person. You can have intimacy with that person because you're not putting a dream in the way. And so you can stay in higher consciousness. It's up to you. Gaming, well, you have a look at it. That can actually keep you pretty present. I wouldn't advocate it. I don't see technology as the problem. I really don't. I see thinking as the problem, dreaming as the problem, the matrix of the mind as the problem. If we can find a way to get out of this and into reality, we've done ourselves a huge favor. Because this is where you hurt yourself. If we're not projecting forward and we're not remembering back, if we're just in the moment, life's pretty good. But we have this ability to bring problems into our heads and project problems further ahead. We have this ability to live in our heads, creating some kind of nightmare that we think is real and make important and procrastinate over. And it's just not a requirement for life. It's a habit usually. And it's a habit that you should break. Get into reality. Embrace reality. Embrace the freshness of the moment rather than embracing some dream in your head that is not real. That takes a bit of practice in the beginning. There's no doubt about that. If you've got a default pattern of dreaming your life away, well, you're going to have to use discipline to get out of that. And that's what meditation is. It's actually a discipline to recover reality from the dream. Of course, you can't think your way out of the dream, which is what I think some people try to do. You can't think your way out of thinking. You can only be present to what is real and not entertain the dream. That's it. Another form of getting out of the dream is to start witnessing the mind. Get some detachment from it. You really get to see it. It's not worthwhile living in once you do that. You get to see how it defends itself, how it hurts itself. You get to see how it creates suffering for itself because of its resistance to life. You get to see so much. You don't need someone telling you. You just see it for yourself. Meditation is a great teacher, a great self-teacher. It can take you home to reality. Dreaming, thinking can never take you anywhere but into dream. And dream is lower consciousness. But it's up to you. You're going to create your reality with the way you think and the way you act in the world. I wish you all the very best. Thank you for satsang. Good to see you brave hearts here today.